will control the vertical.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your host Mark. Today we are talking Outer Limits. This is Season 1, Episode 31. This is, an unusual episode, and we're getting very close towards the end of the Outer Limits Season 1 episodes. In fact, this was the last one made for Season 1, but it wasn't the last one aired. They picked an earlier one. Basically, this was number 32 on the list in production, aired as the 31st episode, and the one that airs after this, which I'll be coming on to next time, was actually made 24th in a row. For some reason, they decided to put this last one at the end. It was a backdoor pilot from the sound of it, but we'll talk about it when we get to that one. This one is The Chameleon, directed by Gerd Oswald. Story, a teleplay, very unusual. This written by Robert Town. Robert Town is quite the screenwriter, and you can tell in this story this is something different to what we're used to. Robert Town went on to win an Oscar for Chinatown, for example. A great script. So there's something unusual and different going on in this one. It aired on April the 27th, 1964, and it stars Robert Duvall, a very fine actor, and quite young in this, does a good job. It's not that young, actually. Essentially, some flying, basically a flying saucer, an alien spaceship lands in a sort of remote part of the US, and wipes out a military patrol. So the authorities are trying to figure out what to do. They're frightened of it, what it's got, what it's there for, what's going on. And they're not sure how to deal with it. They believe it's got nuclear material, and it hasn't. And I think there's somewhat of a subterfuge in the ship is pretending to be that to try and keep people away. The aliens in the ship are really actually quite peaceful, and they have broken down in effect, and they're just trying to repair their ship and get out of there before they could cause any more issues or cause anything to go wrong. The military team, I believe sent to investigate them, is killed, but only because they appear to be attacking first. The aliens were doing it as a defense mechanism. However, they do actually find some genetic material in one of the dead soldiers that is not of this earth, and they believe they can use it somehow. Up turns Robert Duvall as a character called Mace, who's basically a CIA assassin. A very interesting character. He's basically, and he says this as much himself, he's got no real life outside of the mission, and once he's not on the mission, he kind of doesn't do anything until the next mission, and we kind of tell he's a killer. One of the things they telegraph that he's a killer is the first time we see him, he's sitting there with a fly swat, casually killing flies that's sort of landing around him. And we see him kill someone with the same kind of detachment too after that, which is quite the shock, frankly. It reminds you of it reminded me a bit of when Daniel Craig first signed on as James Bond, and we get that black and white sort of segment right at the beginning of Casino Royale showing him committing an assassination in a fairly dispassionate way. this Mace character is much the same. Anyway, they explain to him what they can do with this genetic material. They can modify him to be genetically the same, appear genetically the same, and look is genetically the same as the aliens. He's fine with that. He doesn't even argue. And we find out he's also a man used to taking orders and obeying them. And one of his virtues, one of the reasons he's a good unit to use, is he never disobeys orders and always carries them out successfully. So he's held in high regard at that point. However, he does, as he gets changed, it kind of harks back to the very one of the very early episodes. It might have been the first one, actually. It reminded me somewhat of an early episode, I think third in the run, called The Architects of Fear, which is where the generals find out nuclear war is imminent, so they basically fake an alien invasion by converting a man into an alien, physically changing him over days to sort of create this illusion and cohere humankind. And, you know, the changing of Robert Duvall in this is kind of similar, though the reasons aren't the same at all. Now, he does get onto the ship, he does infiltrate, does actually kill one of the aliens in kind of partly accident. It's kind of a not quite clear, but he also the genetic material seems to be affecting him in that he's starting to think like an alien. He basically returns to the ship and realizes, even though he was aggressive and killed one of them, he realized it wasn't appropriate. You know, these aliens are not used to this and don't know how to deal with it, and they're quite harmless. And he also thinks he's showing them the worst of humanity. So essentially, and it's also, there's an implication that the genetic material he has received that's used to transform is the alien he's just killed, so he's kind of becoming him as well. However, what happens is the last alien forgives him and asks and allows Mace to leave with them and go back to the home planet if he wishes to. This is his chance of some sort of redemption. It's kind of interesting. He, as the authorities were first concerned, he has kind of gone native. He has embraced it, but the general who knows Mace as an agent decides that's fair. He knows that Mace is becoming human by his actions, and perhaps there's some sort of redemption here. And he specifically calls off the attack on the ship as it's leaving, so it's left in peace to just leave. And off Mace goes. So it's kind of a turn on, a bit of quite sophisticated for sort of 60s sci-fi. This there's more going on than we're expected to, and the script reflects it. It's a fine script, very fine. Duvall gives a good performance. In fact, everyone's pretty good in this, and it's kind of interesting that the message is not the usual thing that you'd expect. Essentially, this man, in a nutshell, regains his humanity by wanting to be not human, to go in somewhere that isn't Earth and try and sort of find himself again. And it's his second chance, in effect. It's his redemption. So really interesting story going on here. Much more sophisticated than we're used to. I mean, having said that, the Outer Limits can be fairly sophisticated, as can the Twilight Zone, but even so, this is a standout one. Really good one. I really enjoyed this, and I'd give this a recommend. I am not going to talk any further, but and I'm going to wind it up there. But before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to